o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order. If you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we get a roll call, please?
Blair?
Here.
Broughton?
Here.
Homa?
Here.
Marshall?
Here.
Thurman?
Here.
Unruh?
Here.
Rumble?
Here. All right, we need an approval of the agenda. I don't believe there were any changes, so
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
thank you, Kathy.
Support.
Thank you, Bob. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, that'll bring us into our two presentations. And first up, we do have the wage study report. We have Jeff Romberg here from Romberg Silver and Associates. So Jeff, you want to come on up?
Sure.
Thank you. And you all have that report in your folder, so.
So it's my understanding you all have received a copy of the report. So I spoke to the supervisor and we talked about, we'll walk through this with you and just make sure you understand all the information and the process we went through, and if you have any questions, obviously, don't hesitate to ask. So we'll jump right in. Back up for a second. We did a survey. We actually did two surveys for you. One was for, called the Township non-fire, and then there was a separate one for fire. And because we asked, obviously there are different positions, right? And then between Township and the fire department, and then also we had some extra questions we were interested in on the fire side. So the first survey included 10 townships. They're basically in your neck of the woods. As you can see the list. If you go to page 2 and look at the, you can see the participants there. We actually had sent it out to 13, but we got 10 responses, which is actually pretty good. I mean, we asked for a fair amount of information. This is not their most favorite thing to do, right? To fill out a survey, so, but I thought they did a good job, and everybody here, particularly Jason and the chief were great at helping encourage participation, getting us data throughout the project. So the way the information is organized is we start on page 2. It's by position, lists the townships that responded, the job title, we're obviously trying to match positions, and then if they have a formal salary range for the job, we showed that. If they didn't, then we showed just the pay of the actual incumbents. And also there was some variations in hours per week work. We tried to note all of that. These are all the things we asked for in our survey. And by the way, in the survey, we provided a description of each of your positions to see if they could have an appropriate match. So for clerk, treasurer, supervisor, that's really not much of an issue. You're going to get fairly comparable, if you will, positions. But with others, there's some variations, so that was also part of the process. We developed these surveys and sent out with the survey these position summaries, if you will. And so we computed the mean and median of the data. You'll see those statistics a lot. The mean's the average, the median's the middle data point. We're somewhat of a fan of median. You have to think of the two statistics because it kind of it'll help get rid of the outliers. If there's one really high and one's really low, it'll typically balance that out. So we did that for the supervisor, the deputy supervisor, the clerk, the deputy clerk, treasurer. I'm just flipping through the pages. Again, they're all formatted the same. And by the way, I should make this comment because I talked to Jason about this earlier. So this is obviously all public information, right? At the same time, all of these participants would appreciate that their salary doesn't end up in the local newspaper, right? And the fact of the matter, here is this document. And so we're all trying to make nice and work with each other and our friends in the other townships. And so just handling this with some discretion would be appreciated. Probably don't need to tell you that, but you know, we don't want somebody getting angry, not, I don't, must more about us than by you. Like, what are you doing over there in Brandon, right? Showing everybody what we're making, so. And then when we go through all the salary levels, for the township positions, if you jump to page 8, we gave you a little comparative analysis. Yes,
Going back to page 4,
Sure.
for building official, our building official receives part-time wages,
correct.
but the median and mean are in annual salaries. So I was wondering how come we didn't compare apples to apples and maybe break down the annual wages into hourly.
We could do that.
It's just a
could
math,
do that.
that's easy.
We actually tried to convert them all to salary, and you'll see that in the comparative analysis. But yeah, for those that where in fact we have the data, and we do have some per hour information reported here, we could convert the hourly rate for you, if you would like that. Is that for the part-time positions you'd be interested?
I mean, it's,
Well,
it's
and there's
easy,
only
you
a
just have to
couple
multiply it.
things. I suppose I could divide it all.
Well, and you tell me what you like, and we'll help you any way we can.
I already went through and did all the math on the paper that you
There
sent
go.
me,
He's
so
got
I
the
mean,
answer.
it's already done.
Okay.
There you go.
It takes 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And so then, as I mentioned, when you get to page 8, now this is a comparative analysis, so it's a little summary. Here's all that data, let's kind of put them on one page, one schedule, and look at it, right? So how do we compare the pay here at Brandon with the market data? And again, we use the median statistic for this schedule. As I just talked about, that is our preference. And then we have a little relationship. Again, in some cases, we're comparing salary ranges, in some cases, we're comparing actual salaries. It had to depend on what was provided to us from you, the township. So there are, in our opinion, some significant opportunities here to perhaps consider being more competitive. It's easy for the consultant to come and spend your money, right, to tell you to spend your money, but I mean, I guess it's kind of going to be back to philosophy. How competitive do we want to be? But if this is a reasonable sample of other townships, then the pay rates for a number of these positions, I mean, if you get below 90 or below 85%, you know, we're starting to have some distance from the market. So, again, we just bring that up to your attention. That's the purpose of even giving you this little simple comparison. So you can look at how do our positions stack up with those townships that participated in the survey. And the other important thing that we note on this Schedule 8, which was critically important, is the N. And the N is the number of responses. So the higher that is, the better. In terms of confidence, that's a good value for the position in the market. And the lower that number is, I mean, they didn't have as many matches, then you have to be careful, right? When you only have 1 data point or 3 data points, that's not like having 7, 10, 8, what have you. So as you evaluate all this information, you keep the N, if you will, in mind, because that is an important part of all of the data. We then went to get some additional information. It's actually called your ancillary, I think, wage schedule. So these are not necessarily ancillary staff. I think if I was a trustee, I would think of myself as an ancillary staff. It's the ancillary wage schedule. So we probably should have had a different heading there. So here we pay differently, right? We pay by meetings, and we might pay some other basis, just glancing through. Most of it are per meeting pays, if you will. So we ask for that information, and you can see that in some cases you look pretty good, like you're sort of in the market. Like I think if I was a board review member, I'd say, you know, there's a number of them that are kind of in your neighborhood at 120 and 100 and 125, and then a couple that are higher, but you can see all of this. And your inspectors, planning commission members, again, that doesn't look too bad. If you go to page 10, on the trustee side, since you were here, we should talk about that for a moment. Most of the folks pay better than you do for you have a per meeting fee, right? That's what you get paid as trustees, and so you can see the per meeting fees. And and they are in fact higher. And in some cases, they have a different model. So here's $600 a month as opposed to so much per meeting at Independence Township. So you can see all the variations. White Lake actually has an annual salary for trustees, which we've seen. That's not uncommon. That's not uncommon in other townships. More here we're on the per meeting model. So this is additional data for your wage schedules or your ancillary wage schedule, pay schedule, that you might again want to look at in terms of how are we comparing what we pay versus what these townships pay. And then we went to benefits. This is another part of the study, was not just to look at salaries and these wage per meeting fees, those sorts of things, but in addition, how about benefits? And so we had a number of benefits that we thought particularly important to focus on. We start with longevity pay on page 11. You have a longevity pay plan. It's tied to years of service, and as you'll see, most of these townships do not. Addison does, and they pay 15%. They didn't tell us when, but they do, and then White Lake. And the rest of them were no. So for whatever that's worth, that's kind of a plus on your side in terms of providing longevity pay. And it starts at 2% after 5 years, and then it goes to 4 after 10, and then it goes to 6 after 15, and 8 after 20. I think I got that right. Somebody can correct me if I
That
don't.
sounds right.
Pretty sure
Yeah, that's right.
That's how it works? Okay. We went to health insurance. And so what's the employee contribution to the healthcare premium? And for those hired after 2012 here, it's 20%, I believe. And so you can see what others charge or expect of their employees in terms of contribution. Is there a health savings plan? Most don't have one, or quite a few didn't respond, and nor necessarily do you, but we were asked to look at that information. And then we go to dental and optical, and it was just a yes or no answer, and everybody seems to have dental and optical as you do. Then we went to pension retirement. So most of the townships are now on a defined contribution plan.
That's what I was,
Still on a defined, but yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask that question that you just said. I was wondering if any other townships were offered defined benefit, as we
have
do.
a couple. Independence does, and so does White Lake.
Okay.
The rest are defined contributions. On page 14, you'll see that. You'll see that. And for those that have that, which is White Lake and Independence, what's the multiplier? You're at 2. Independence is 2.5. That's the times the years of service, right? That's the, you know that formula well. Employee contribution to pension, again, if it's with a DB plan, and you can see what those numbers are. I think your employee contribution is 3%, if I am not mistaken. If I got my facts right. And then we went to defined contribution plans, but again, you don't have one, but this is what most of the other townships do have. And so we asked how much is the employer contribution or match, how are they structured, are they putting in, and then to the defined contribution plan, is there an employee contribution requirement? And if so, how much? So those are big, important items. We also looked at retiree health insurance, and because you have retiree health insurance, as I understand, I think it's, there's requirements in terms of years of service and age. I think fire's different than the other township staff, right? And so you can at least look at what these other communities are doing relative to retiree health. And some provide it and some don't. And then what's the coverage if they do? Cost, the annual employer contribution, and it's kind of percentage who pays what. And same with the employee contribution. So I think you're paying 80%, right? I think that's right for the retiree health. And employees are 20. I don't remember.
It follows the same 2012 after 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So that's salary benefits for township positions, if you will. And then if you go to page 18, we did a separate survey to look at the fire department. And we actually got 12 responses here. So we did a little better. And you can, again, see those participants. And so we looked at, you know, the key positions, like the chief and the captain, administrative assistant in the department, fire marshal, EMS coordinator. And then we went to sort of the full-time duty personnel, so there's a captain, a lieutenant. Again, same format, although here we also asked if there were some additional stipends being paid. And so you'll see those. We didn't ask that of the township, you know, positions, but for the fire department positions, we did. And so you can look at that information if you will. And then what we did, then we also looked at part-time, for part-time fire sergeant, part-time firefighter, part-time office clerk. And then if you go to page 23 with the same concept, we gave you a little comparative analysis, right? How do we stack up versus the median? Either looking at salary ranges or looking at actual pay. And there are some positions that look pretty good, and in terms of being competitive with the median data, and there's some that are a bit on the lower side. And again, important to think about the end and how good the job matches are. But I think for the most part, these jobs are going to line up pretty well. You know, no two townships are exactly alike in how they structure, organize staff, whether it's the fire department or whatever. But and then on the last pages, we were asked to get some other facts about these fire departments, and so how many stations, how many calls annually, those is EMS provided, advanced life support provided, both of them do that, both of that, so to get a little better sense of what's going on in each of those fire departments that were part of the survey. So,
Excuse me, I have a question here.
yes,
Under firefighter, it says part-time firefighter. I'm guessing that's what PT stands for, part-time. Is that equivalent to our paid on call? Because there's nothing listed for Brandon Township.
Which page are you
part-time
on?
firefighter?
It's on page 23.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we have your pay range with that position.
Yeah, but there's no number there for what paid on call gets. So it's hard to make a comparison between,
So I'm not sure I'm tracking with you.
okay, the first column
Yeah,
is Brandon Township
yeah,
Fire Department position.
correct.
Second column is Fire Department employee pay rate. You go all the way down to
Yeah,
part-time
right.
firefighter, there's nothing there.
Yeah, because we didn't get a list of all the people to know their pay rate, to say what's their average, that's what we would have done. Rather, we shared the pay range that's given. So they start at $12.51, right?
Okay.
And they can go up to
Okay, all right.
$19.55.
That's why these.
All right,
That's why we
gotcha.
gave you the range for the position as
These ones don't
opposed.
have over there.
We
All
didn't,
right.
if we had all the incumbents today, the current, we could, and then compute an average, we could do that. But,
Okay, all right, thank you.
yes, good point. I'm glad you brought it up. Yes.
Question on page 24 where we're comparing calls for service. Is it possible, maybe the fire chief knows this off the top of his head, what ours is? I know we have 3 stations, but how many calls annually? So,
Over the past 3 years, it's been 1,520, 1,543, and 1,400.
So 1,500.
But we will get all that data.
I was just,
It's out there on.
it'd be good just to have it on here so we can compare with everybody
Right.
else.
Right.
Thank you.
Again, that's something you want to add to this document, we can do that, whatever you, or it can be helpful to you. So this is pretty straightforward. I think our firm does this all the time for lots of municipalities and townships, frankly, around the state, obviously a lot here in southeast Michigan, but the key is, so what do we do with it, right? It's, now that we have all this data, and so that, I mean, I think you need to.
We have a wage subcommittee that's gonna review it and digest it and make a recommendation eventually to the board when we're ready.
That's terrific. Again, yes.
Yes, on the health insurance, you know, how much does this cost the other townships? Do we ever find that out? Because I don't even know how much employee health insurance how much it costs per employee here.
We don't know, we didn't ask this. We asked them in terms of,
'Cause that's part of the salary, how much an employee's worth. Like, when I was a W-2, they said I was worth, I don't know, 175. I'm like, I didn't see that. But
Yeah.
because I had health insurance, apparently I was worth more. I didn't get paid more.
Well,
And
that's
there's
why, yeah, and then they look at your share of FICA and Medicare that they
Absolutely.
put in when they
So
are
like
doing
this
that.
here, I don't even, if we were to compare an employee here to any of these other townships, those numbers really don't mean much to me as a comparator.
yeah.
And the
well,
fact that we really don't have Brandon on here on a lot to actually look, if I'm gonna do a comparison, I can go back and forth to.
Yeah, we can add all the Brandon data on, to the benefit schedules, if you like, as we
Right.
did with the salary schedules, right?
And also like go back to in the beginning salaries,
Yeah.
like how much is it, I would look at like how much is each one of the, on each township, what are they bringing in? Because there's got to be another way of comparing a base salary of each of those supervisors, treasurers, and clerks, and how much tax money is coming into each township.
We have
So
that
I know,
data.
so I want to know what to pay, instead of just saying, well, he's lower than somebody else, but, I don't know what percentage of what they're bringing in.
Well, what we do have, that I think it's what you would want, we didn't put it in here, but we can, is sort of the key statistics in terms of, first of all, population, then expenses, then revenues, and then taxable value. And we have that data. Like the median population's 18,000, so it's a little bigger, right? You're 15 something?
Right.
Right, somewhere around there, so that'd be the median would be around 18 for population. And, yeah, we have that data, we can add that to this report,
That would be,
That'd
I'd
be good.
appreciate that.
you can see it.
Because I want to know what's coming into that township. I don't want it broken down, but what the money is coming on
You know,
in each town.
we can give you the expenditures and revenues,
There you go.
And tax,
total
I was gonna say the population
in population.
revenue, expense, and taxable value.
Exactly.
If you,
I've got this- I'm
if
looking
you
at
could
the
do
schedule
that.
right now. We can add that,
And-
absolutely provide that.
And I think that, I know it might be easy for Chief and Jason to know what the township offers, but like, as you're looking at the survey result benefits, it's kind of like, okay, Brandon's not listed there, so we don't know what we offer there,
In
so.
terms of the benefits, right.
Yeah, like you were
I-
saying, like on the
we-
mean, you did the mean and the median, but on all these other pages, it wasn't included a Brandon, so it's kind of hard to remember what we
So we
do.
can add Brandon's data if you'd like.
Yes, please.
to these
Yes.
schedules. For the benefits. We did it for the salaries, right?
Right, where it's already at, but it's just, it'd be easier, because as a trustee,
Yeah.
I don't have all that information always at home to look at.
Okay. Those are good suggestions.
And anything with, like the how much we're paying out for a retiree? Or and not just that, us, because I'm probably going to ask the clerk for it, but like, if we have other information from the other townships, what are they paying out? I don't know if we can get that information.
Not easily. Well, we, again, in terms of the standard things to ask about, start with pension, what kind of plan do you have and how much does the employee pay and how much does the employer pay into it?
Yeah.
And that's pretty good, data to look at and say, now how do we compare with what we're doing versus them? With the health insurance, we typically focus on percentage of how much does the employee have to pay of the premium. And that's the easiest way to get the data from the other townships. If you ask them to tell you what they pay for health insurance, we're gonna have trouble getting all that information. I mean, we can't overly burden them, or they won't participate, and we want their data. So when we do these, we have to think about, how do we keep the participation level up by not burdening them with too much information. But I think they may have a different insurance plan, whatever it is, and so it can't have an impact on what their costs are. But I think hopefully you guys are always, paying attention to those things, and I think the key statistic typically is who pays what. And you want to know how much they pay. Well, I can get you that, the staff here can get you that amount for the township, but I would be hesitant to try to go back to all those communities and ask them. It's not easy data to come by. It's rather, so how do you structure the sharing of health insurance costs between employee and employer? That's, I mean, that's pretty traditional. Lots of townships, municipalities, that's what they try to focus on and make sure that they're hopefully in line or balanced or reasonable. So I don't know, I mean, it'd be tough to go get actual hard numbers from the townships.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any more questions for Jeff?
And we can follow up, I mean,
Yeah.
we're happy to do all this. If you want to give them all that data, or you want us to give them the data, that doesn't matter to me.
I mean, if you already have it, just add it onto the report so it's all in one place.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll update it.
Yeah.
I may be back with the 2 questions again, make sure I got all
Yeah.
the facts, but
All right.
hopefully I've been doing you too crazy. You know, seriously, they've been, not trying to be passionate, they've been really helpful. The Chief and Jason. And I'm sure probably somebody else was helping too, in terms of getting data to us, but
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
if any other questions go on, just let me know.
Yep.
Be happy to try to answer.
Appreciate it.
See everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to our audit report, and we have Charlie here from our accounting firm. Or audit firm. Hi, Charlie.
Charlie?
Pepper Hannaford Walker here in place of Ken, who's out of town at the moment. Want to go over your audited financial statement, just point out a couple highlights in some areas, talk about some of the activity from the year. Overall, I felt like there's been significant improvement in the departments in terms of getting things done, getting the reconciliation done, getting information to us. That this year's audit felt quite a bit smoother.
Good.
There's noticeable progress that we have made. In terms of the financial statement, I'm going to start out on page 20. This is your balance sheet that just shows all the assets, liabilities, fund balance for the various funds that you have. Outside of the detail in here, there's not a whole lot that jumps out at me. The one thing I wanted to point out is there's a new GASB standard that was put in place this year regarding valuing both lease receivables and lease payables that we now have to record on the balance sheet. So you'll see in the general fund, there's a lease receivable of $661,000. That's offset by this deferred inflow of resources of $644,000. Essentially, it's for all of your long-term leases that you have, both if there's anything on any property, as well as your cell tower revenue that comes in. And the small difference between those just comes to how those are amortized year over year. Some are based on discount rates, and we're based on straight line. That creates just a small difference year over year. So that's the deal we turned on there from prior years. With that, I also want to mention there's another GASB standard that will come out next year. It's called SBITA. It's subscription-based information technology arrangement. Basically, same concept. If you have some kind of monthly subscription for software that's of a significant value, you need to start capitalizing those next year versus just spending them as you pay. So we'll work with you guys throughout the year to determine if any of that comes into play. Page 23 shows your revenue expenditures and changes in fund balance. Looking at your totals for your governmental funds, you had an increase in fund balance of $823,566. That's on the second to last column from the right. Overall, your fund balance for governmental funds was $5.7 million. We like to see fund balance no less than about 50% of your annual expenditures. Our sweet spot is kind of 1 year's equivalent of expenditures. So you guys are pretty close to that. You're a little bit above this year with your fund, where your expenditures were about $4.8 million. So you're a little above that, but it's not so great that we're worried that the money's not being used for township purposes and being appropriately used to provide services to your residents. Fire fund, you're at about $2.1 million. That one dropped down a bit this year as there was a deposit of about $1.3 million towards a new fire truck that was paid. So that reduced the fund balance down significantly this year. Getting into some of the pension and OPEB that we talked about as part of the benefits. Jumping to page 40 of the financial statement. This shows your net pension liability that you have. It might look a little shocking this year. Last year you had a net pension liability of $1.8 million. This year it jumped up to about $3.3 million, which it's going to be hard to chase right now because there's just a lot going on in these pension plans. One, MERS has changed some of their assumptions. They've reduced their assumed rate of return and discount rate again this year. So that increased liabilities on everybody. On top of that, we all know the market took a pretty significant dive during the 2022 year. So your pension plan is measured as of 12/31/22 based on projected figures that MERS gave us. So with those 2022 investment losses, those were almost $800,000 last year alone, plus the change in assumption, that was about a $1.2 million jump in your liability. Just looking at that from where we were at 12/31 to today, I looked at a statement, and your investment income jumped up an extra $250,000 in that first quarter. So some of that's already rebounding back to where it is. So you guys could chase that quite extensively with all the changes that are coming into play and everything going on in the stock market and stuff. Overall, you're in pretty solid shape with your pension plan. So I wouldn't worry too much about chasing it, but I know you have a retirement oversight committee. Just keep a close eye on that as you see things coming down the pipe and seeing where everything goes and if it requires any sort of additional contribution to kind of keep it at a funding level that you're comfortable with. Next would be your defined benefit OPEB plan. That's your other post-employment benefit for retiree healthcare. It's on page 44. This one again is in real great shape. Last year we had about $60,000 in the liability. This year jumped to about $150,000. Your net OPEB liability overall, your total is calculated at about $2.9 million, of which you have $2.8 million funded. So you're in real strong shape on that one. And the OPEB is generally one you see municipalities start to fall off on and slow down on funding and let that liability get kind of grow, and that will create problems. You guys have kept that well funded. And, keep showing commitment to that and not let it become a problem. So that's promising to see. The only other area I really wanted to point out is we realized that from the drafts that we provided you, there was a discrepancy with the budget amount that we reported versus what was actually approved by the board. We made that correction. I gave each of you a paper copy of that revised statement, so you have the correct budget figures in there. And that is included in our final report, which I'll send to you either later tonight or tomorrow as a PDF. With that final copy.
Great.
We have our standard comments and recommendation letter. Those have 2 comments that have been in there for they're pretty standard comments. Segregation of duties, being a small entity is a concern. It's an audit concern in terms of just there's supposed to be segregation duties, but we realize that small entities can't hire the staff necessary to create those full, true segregation of duties, and we acknowledge that there's other compensating controls to account for that. So it's not anything that's really an issue, but it's a standard comment that goes in nearly all of our audit reports. Happy to take any questions if you have any.
We've already gone over this with Ken, so.
Charlie, is this the statement that you said that had budget items that were not approved?
No, that's not what he said.
It wasn't that they weren't approved, it was that the information we had and the draft that we gave to you wasn't accurate to what the board had approved.
Oh, okay.
The board had approved the budget, primarily pertaining to the apparatus purchase. They had approved the purchase as well as the budget amendment for that. That budget amendment didn't make it into our first draft. We updated that to reflect what the board had actually approved.
Okay, and I imagine that because we have a new accountant, probably the word's not getting in the right place or something. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, Jason, I did want to ask you, you want physical copies of the report or just PDF copies?
At least one for me and Chief, if you can.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. All right, that brings us into our report. Let's see, we have the treasury report. I'm out of order here. Don't see reconciliation or general ledger.
General ledger is in
It is? Okay, it's not in mine.
It's down here somewhere.
All right, so we have the general ledger then. Designated report, we're not doing that anymore, are we?
Not right.
Yep.
I
Yes.
think we normally have an actual motion to accept the audit.
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
Great, perfect. Hey, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thought he was gonna bring us a box of donuts.
Right, right. Come on, Charlie. All right, and then we have the building department reports, and we have the recreation report. Fred, did you want to say anything?
For a year, we started out with a lot of rain and a lot of heat.
It's helpful.
So our baseball program's doing a lot of makeup as we speak. Randy's all over that. We're using Sherman Park and not the Township Park for our Little League. There's a lot of construction going on, which is turning out pretty good. That area that we're gonna have the varsity girls softball and varsity boys baseball, that swale, is clearing it.
Oh, good,
Approximately 10,000 yards of dirt.
Good.
And your bulldozers and super.
good.
So that worked out real well. As far as the fall programs go, we got the flyers out and the last sessions of the spring and summer sports, we make sure that they get in the kids' hands. We had a September Fest meeting that went real well. Our second meeting's coming up Thursday. And I've talked to some community members. They want to be prepared for a report. Crystal, our new employee, they're doing a real good job going out, hunting down sponsorships. We have some new ones this year, so that's going to help very much. And then Brandy also went door to door to the business owners, letting them know that the street's ours, their business is theirs. They want that street, they have to pay like everybody else. But the good news is the DDA is going to take care of their bill. So we don't lose, they don't lose, it's all a good thing. We do, at the next September Fest meeting, we got a couple maps to share with the committee on what Saturday is going to look like and what Sunday is going to look like. It's not going to be like last year, it's going to be different. And I'll give you a report after we have that meeting. As far as grant goes, grants, I have not heard anything for the Oakland County grant that's going to help with the gazebo. We should be hearing any time now. They told me mid-July. The last that we heard from them that we were favorable, so we'll see how that fans out. I know the Lions Club and the Rotary Club are excited about building this, and hopefully we'll have it built by early August if we get the grant. If we don't get the grant, they're talking about building it anyways. It's just that we don't have a service drive and some of the bells and whistles that go with that. We do have enough benches and landscaping and enough money for the gazebo. So Lions Club told me that if we don't get the grant, that they were going to donate a little bit more, up to another 10,000. So we'll see if that happens. And as far as I got 2 bills today from HRC. I got bills, but I haven't seen them, no communication. So I called them, and I got John, he's on vacation, but he did return my call. He said the update says that it's been surveyed, and I was out there while they were surveying it, that he made a motion or an amendment to the grant to ask for an extension. That's still in the DNR's office as we speak. He doesn't see any reason why we shouldn't get it because it's federal money, and typically they give them out all the time. We got 2 in the past, 2 grants, and then so he's just waiting to hear from Mary Carla on that. We have a baseball tournament scheduled for this weekend down here at Sherman Park. It's our hometown Junior Blackhawks program. It's mostly 12U, 10U, 8U kids playing down here. I got a meeting with them tomorrow, late afternoon, to go over some things. The concession stand's not suitable, but we are turning the water on for them down there. And they're going to bring a food truck, and I told them to get a hold of Chief Guapas to make sure that everything's legal with that. I think you did, but I'm not sure yet. I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Any questions? Yeah.
Thanks, Fred.
Could you fill us in on the,
Oh, yeah,
the new director
applications?
position?
Yeah, good. We had about 9 applications in Park Subcommittee. We did interview quite a few of them. We had a couple outstanding candidates. The day before, we actually were gonna hire one guy out of Farmington, was a really good candidate. Said that his employer upped his salary and hours, so he stayed. The other guy that was really #1 choice, former YMCA executive, they doubled his salary to keep him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Guess we couldn't do that, huh?
So back to the drawing board, we put it back on them parks. We currently have 4 applications, and it's open till the 21st.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
And they come to our email, we get them right over to Stacy, and Jason reviews them. So we'll see what we get in. We got one return. The guy actually was kind of the 3rd place. He reapplied. He wasn't bad. He was a salesman for recreation equipment.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. Anything else?
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you.
Greg, do you have anything to say, Greg? There's a sheriff's report on here, which I've never seen on here before, but I'm not sure why it's on there.
Well, usually, because sometimes he'll do the quarterly or the annual.
Yeah, but,
Thanks, Greg.
yes, thanks for being here, Greg. All right, Edna Burton Senior Center report, Faye?
So today was senior day at the Oakland County Fair. So we took 8 people, the people that want to go. They had pancake breakfast for them, they had entertainment for them, they had bingo. So, and they all had a good time. And they've already asked, are you going next year? I said, yeah, because the zoo has canceled all their senior days. So we can't take them for that. And as far as our grant goes, I got another email today
I saw that.
from the 3rd person that is handling it. She said that she has forwarded it to the commissioners and they have approved it so that they have no timeline on the money that we were supposed to get in February. But there's been 2 people that have just suddenly no longer work at the county that were doing that. But I have been dealing a lot with one of the ladies that is on the senior ad hoc committee for Oakland County, and she has been very upset. She has been talking to the commissioner, Bob Hoffman, and saying, you know, they've got the money, why isn't it released? So it's just a
The sewer one went that way too, don't worry. It took about a year to get our money back there. You just have to keep on them.
It's just kind of a wait and see game.
Yep.
This Wednesday, I am having, from the Oakland County Health Department, I believe it's the Health Department. They are doing a free COVID booster at the senior center from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then on August 2nd, so if you guys know of any seniors 62 and over, low income, on August 2nd at noon, we are having someone from, her name is Robin, and she's from the Oakland County Health Department, and she comes in and she gives like a 10 to 15 minute speech. And as long as you live in Oakland County, you can get a $25 voucher for fresh produce. It can't be purchased at the store, but the farmer's market that is nearest to us is Oakland County Farmer's Market, so I have like 6 or 7 trips going to the Oakland County Farmers Market between August, September, and October. And then the lady is also going to have one on August 17th or September 17th down there at the county, or down at the Farmers Market, and she said she will wait and do it at 10 o'clock because I figured that would be the time we would be there, and she said, we'll do it then. And I've given the information to the Ortonville Farmers Market to see if they want to be a part of it, to be part of the people that take the vouchers.
That would be
And
great.
it's a big stack of paper, and I said, here it is, guys. So, other than that, that's about it.
Thank you, Faith.
If I was only a senior. Why are you laughing?
I don't know if you are or not, Bob. I'm not asking. That brings us to our trustee reports. Kathy?
I just wanted to say, we don't have a sheriff's report, but we do have a Brandon Fire Department report that was put at our.
Yeah, that's just informational. It's a half a year. He
Oh.
didn't want it on there.
Oh, usually he does.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, sure. He was just providing that for information.
Our waste scales were calibrated by the state of Michigan last Wednesday. So Waymaster Traffic Car has those waste scales now. Also, the construction on the bathroom, a couple people have asked me that, on the bathrooms is going to start next Monday. And the traffic issue at Oakwood and Hadley has been an absolute nightmare. We have, between my guys and our traffic, we've written probably about 140 tickets there in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
People are disregarding the barricades going around them.
They're going through the park too.
Yeah, they're totally disregarding barricades. I sat out there the other day, I backed up somebody's driveway. It was, we had 14 cars disregards 2 sets of barricades with an excavator sitting right in the middle of the road. They're jogging around an excavator that's operating. So, then over the weekend, somebody actually, I'm assuming they were kids, but I don't know, removed all of the barricades and threw them in the ditch.
Oh, my gosh.
So one of my guys he asked me, he said, hey, have they reopened this? And I said, absolutely not. So we put the barricades back out.
Jeez.
But it's an ongoing issue out there. People just don't care.
I trust those are a little bit higher end tickets.
They're fairly steep.
Good.
And disregarding, 2 sets of barricades. But
Right.
part of the problem is, and I've had numerous conversations with the road commission, is they haven't done a great job, in my opinion, of advertising the alternate routes. They have on M15, but before anybody gets to those barricades, Lease Road and State Park Road is the 2 main avenues to get around that.
Those aren't advertisable
They have
routes.
not
They can't.
at all.
They won't
they're
because it
dirt
has to be
roads.
the same weight level so they
Yeah.
won't post them there.
Yeah, but I mean, even just for general traffic,
I
I mean,
know.
not everybody takes 15 to Oakwood.
And Google, if you go on Google, it actually tells you like up Hadley and then turn in to something behind Wojo's and come out, and it's like, that's not even a road.
On my way home
Google's
last
saying-
night, Google was telling
Yeah,
me to
that's
take
what you're
Hadley, and I'm like, the road.
Because they want you to then like go behind Wojo's and then come out on the side of
There's a
Wojo's.
gate
and
there, you can't
there's
do
gate
that.
there, you can't do that, but Google doesn't know it, so Google messes up people too then.
Part of the problem is that people are calling Wojo's, and I would say probably 90% of the cars that we stop, they're trying to get to Wojo's.
Yeah, I feel bad for them.
And Wojo's is telling them they're open, but they're not telling them what side of the property to come in on.
They're also going through the park, past the baseball fields, into that 5 acres the township owns where all the construction equipment is.
Yeah.
But now you're parking a car there.
Yeah.
Oh, because they're trying to come in across from Wojo's to
go
that
around.
one, is that shut down so they
They're coming
can't
off
now?
Hadley Road, through the park, out that service drive.
There's no fence there, Fred?
I thought that was
I
locked.
thought it was
I thought that
fenced.
was blocked, that no one could get through that.
Keep it open because the semi trucks were going through there. My guys leave at 2:30.
Oh, that's right. They're putting the material in there.
That Ross guy, say if he could just go back and shut the gate.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But it's going to be an ongoing problem until some.
Well, hopefully people are starting to learn. It should slow down, I would hope.
It hasn't.
Not yet.
Yeah, I bet your car washes are up.
All right, thanks, Greg. Kathy, did you have anything else?
Yep, yeah, and they moved the one closure sign to the corner of Hummer Lake and Hadley, and I think that helped, but there's still people that go up there and you see them and they turn around and go back. It's ongoing, and that was part of mine. The road closure at Hadley and Oakwood has been very inconvenient. But I just wanted to let everyone know, if they want to go to Wojo's, enter from the east or Sashabaw side of Oakwood. And that's the only way to get there. So don't go through the park, don't try to walk in. And I just wanted to say thank you to the fire department and all involved in making the fireworks display a wonderful event for the public this year. That's it.
Thank you. Steve?
Hope everyone had a great 4th of July, one of my favorite holidays, and I don't know if anybody else noticed, But it does seem kind of warm in here. Do we have an air conditioning problem?
Yes, we have a thermostat problem,
Just kidding.
All right.
but thanks for reminding us.
Thank you, Steve.
Bob?
Yeah, I'll gloss over some of these because Rosalind's going to deal with the election committee. I met for that. The wage committee, I want to apologize. I missed the meeting because of the construction on my house with our house fire. Construction workers showed up, and I completely forgot about the wage committee, so I apologize. As Fred already stated, we had a September Fest meeting, and one other thing that's not directly directly involving either Ortonville or Brandon Township, and I'm not sure how many people are aware of it. Davison Township is having a meeting tonight. They are having, I'll read I have the agenda for them. Greyhound buses are dropping off full buses of transients, homeless, and otherwise unattached people to Davison Township Meyer once a week. Those buses hold between 36 and 56 people. And they're doing once a week, so you can imagine that over the course of a year, the number of people they're dropping off would outnumber the number of actual residents in Ortonville Village. So it's something we need to keep an eye on. I'm not sure if we can do anything about it. Be preemptive in our tactics or whatever, but I did contact, because depending on what political leaning you have, there are people that are blowing it off. Well, it's no big deal. They're just riding the buses. More conservatives are comparing it to illegal aliens being shipped by bus around the country from the border. So to confirm that the information was correct, I did contact the clerk's office at Davison Township, and this poor woman, I felt bad for her. She has been inundated with phone calls all day long about people asking about it. They have so many people coming to their meeting that they had to move the meeting from the township offices to a church up there. It's quite a large church. And she said this has been happening, the busing of people has been happening for months, and she has no idea who is organizing it. They told the township, Davison Township, absolutely nothing about them doing this, and she has no idea when it will end. It may never end, according to her. So just something we need to pay attention to. Chief, I'm not sure if you have any contact with the township up there, the police department.
We talk to them periodically, over different calls, but I haven't heard a word about that.
Yeah, I just found out about this last night late. Otherwise, I would put the agenda out to the board so everybody knew about it.
So, you're saying that they're dropping the people off there, they're not taking them away, they're just
Dropping them
leaving
off.
them?
So where do the people go to?
Who knows?
I
And-
saw
and-
something about it, but I didn't.
And the clerk said she
Sure about
tried contacting the bus, a Greyhound bus, and they are not telling them anything about where they're picking them up at, who's organizing it, or anything else. Yeah, that'd be my guess. Because I've seen reports previously about airplanes coming into Bishop Airport, bringing in people from the border. So, as the chief and LT, lieutenant will tell us, I'm sure, that any time we start getting an increase in homeless, increase in indigents, increase in people with issues, it's going to raise their workload, and if they're not overtaxed already, they will be. So just something we need to keep an eye on, and if you can think of anything else that we can do, we need to discuss that. Like I said, I'm not sure legally there's anything we can do, but just be aware it's happening. And that's only, 14 miles up the road.
I'll check into that Bishop Airport. A friend of mine's the chief up there.
Oh, okay.
I'll inquire on that.
Yeah, I've seen some video actually from Bishop Airport where they're letting them off the plane and then they just sort of disappear. Nobody knows.
Ironically, usually if we get a vagrant that's on 15, they are almost always from Davison. almost always.
All right. All right, thanks, Bob. Dana?
So I have a few things. Parks and Rec, I was involved with the interviews, and Fred already updated us. Hopefully we get some good new candidates. Looking forward to new interviews and moving forward. The wage study, I was at the meeting, and you guys heard the wage study, so I know we'll be meeting again soon and starting digging into the study. And I'd like to try to get the Retirement Oversight Committee probably to soon meet, Jason, now that if you want to make a note about that to
Yeah, I'll talk to Bob. He
Bob,
handles that.
because I don't know if reports have been done or when reports are due, but I think we need to. we
They're
usually
waiting
have a
on
meeting
something. We
sometime
just
in the
emailed
summer.
with Chris about last week, so
Okay,
they're
yeah.
waiting on something.
I would just like to try to make sure we're keeping up with that. And then, just wanted to say thank you to everybody for the fireworks. I know I saw Greg there and talked to him, and I know the police worked late. It took an hour to get people out. It was the biggest firework show we've had in attendance, and it was great. So thank you to everybody who put it on, and thank you to the NHS kids who stayed after and cleaned up all the trash. They cleaned up trash for about an hour. My daughter said she was picking up diapers. I mean, people did not clean up after themselves. So that was sad, but if you were at the fireworks, please clean up after yourselves. But thanks to the students who stayed and helped clean up.
I didn't know.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Dana.
Is that your diaper there, Steve?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know.
All right, that brings us to
No,
the
I'm just saying,
treasurer's
that was one
report.
thing she had said, so I just wanted to thank the kids who stayed and thank all the people who did it, and hopefully next year people will clean up their own trash.
All right, thank you. That brings us to the treasurer's report. Scott?
Yeah, I guess with the heat and the time, I'll be quick. Taxes are coming in, everything's going fine. Also met with the Lake Louise board, and all the numbers and everything that we've been jiggering with for the past 2 months have gone by the wayside, and they want to start over and possibly spend more money. So that's where we're at.
All right, thank you. Clerk's report, Rosalind?
Good evening. Thank you all for attending the board meeting for Brandon Township. The Southwestern Advantage obtained a permit from the clerk's office to solicit educational materials door to door. So if you have any questions, please call the clerk's office. The Election Commission met. We have a recommendation to change Precinct 4 from the fire station to Seymour Lake United Methodist Church. We also discussed opting out to partner with Oakland County for early voting. This means that any of our voters that want to utilize the early voting, they can actually come to the township instead of a hub with multiple jurisdictions. The pickleball courts are completed and open to the public. I'm still working with the village on some of the final touches prior to a ribbon cutting, which we will be scheduling soon. I also did attend the fireworks for Ortonville. They were fabulous as usual. So thank you to all who played a part in that. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. For the supervisor's report, just a couple items. We did receive our MMRMA premium refund this year, and it's just under $62,000. And we also received our latest constitutional revenue payment, and that was just over $253,000. And then lastly, I just wanted to wish all our local youth showing their animals and projects out at the 4-H fair this week good luck. And that's it. All right, and that brings us into our correspondence. We have our wage subcommittee meeting minutes, and then we have the election commission meeting minutes. And citizens' comments on agenda items only. Any citizens? Yep. Okay.
One is talking, I've been in conversations with the village powers to be as far as some of the different events they have. And I'll throw one out there being the Abigail's Pride event. Each of these events requires, they're always on a weekend, and they require traffic control. For the Abigail's Pride event, there were death threats over social media of things happening, or potential for things to happen. That requires me or one of my guys to be here on overtime. Because I can't staff 6 reserves that have no police authority without a full-time officer. So I've talked to the village about it. We have always acted, basically with Memorial Day, the fireworks, September Fest, and Homecoming, kind of as a township event, not to where it affects the whole township, not certain things that take place, like the Abigail's Pride that requires us to close streets. So when it's come up to overtime and things like that, that has always came to the township. And somewhere we need to come to a happy medium because and Jason, we've talked about it, my overtime bill for that Abigail's Pride event was almost $700. And I mentioned to the village that there was no way that I was going to turn that bill into the township, that they would be getting that bill to cover my wages for that day. So it's something we need to talk about as a group. I mean, what are going to be township events that
That's an outside event. As long as we treat all outside events equally, then we should be charging them directly for that cost.
and that's how I feel about it too.
But the village is issuing the permit, so they need to charge them, not us.
Right, whoever
Right.
wishes to permit, I agree.
Yeah.
Right,
it's
the
in the-
village.
But they need to know, well, that's fine, but we pay his salary.
I know,
and
yep.
So we'll just send them the bill next time.
Yeah, my understanding is the village is working on it, so whatever
Okay.
they come up with
It is
is.
something they're working on, and like for the fireworks this year, I mean, for whatever reason, it ended up on Channel 2 News. I
didn't
talked
see
to the
that.
village because we had no heads up that was going out to Channel 2, and we were almost overwhelmed with traffic. I had 6 reserves, myself and 2 other full-time guys here, and we were directing traffic for an hour and 15 minutes longer this year than we have over the years past. And I have to bring those guys in because
Extra
it's,
babies.
for overtime. If I put my 2 township cars or 3 township cars on that detail, they'd never be able to respond to a township call. So it requires me or somebody else to come in on overtime to handle that event. And that event seems to be getting larger and larger, involving the food trucks. I don't know what the numbers were this year, but I've never seen both sides of the road from Glass all the way to Grange Hall active with people than it was this year. So it's something that we're gonna need to discuss at some point, what.
Well, and I wonder if this year was a little rougher because people had to almost, if you needed to head to like Wojo's area, on the east side of Wojo's, you had to go down M15. So a lot of people had to leave this year heading south or heading and taking the back roads like Hummer Lake and stuff like that. Because I know I didn't park at the high school. I parked at a friend's house behind the high school, so I was able to walk. But the traffic going down Kent and Granger and Hummer Lake when I left to take the back roads out,
We were
We're
lucky. I mean,
crazy busy, too.
Because the Glass Road, Seymour, Grange Hall, and Oakwood were all, including South Street, were all flashing yellow lights.
yeah.
So that helped us, but I still had to man every one of those positions just to
Right.
keep the traffic flowing.
Right.
And it was major this year. The village told me that DDA said they did not contact Channel 2 News because I actually asked them, I said, if you're gonna do something like that, you gotta let us know. I had no heads up that was going on. And there were a lot of people out here that day.
Well, like the people next to us, they said they were from Rochester, and they came because when Rochester canceled theirs, then people weren't looking, and we were the only ones on July 3rd who were having fireworks
We
in
were the only
Oakland
show
County.
in town.
Yeah.
I called to get a TAC channel for us to use, and they said, you pick whichever one, nobody else has the event going on, so.
Right.
But we're starting to get people for, Grand Blanc, Burton. I mean, we're getting a mix of people coming from all over, and that's been going on for the last few years.
Yep. All right, thanks, Craig. All right, that brings us to a discussion item, and Rosalind did ask to have this on here, so I'll let her discuss that.
So if you look at the revenue and expenditure that's in your packet, there's some headings at the top of that report. And so I just kind of wanted to discuss this, just to let you know. So if you're looking at it now, you're gonna see an amended budget for 2023. So this is kind of how the reports are coming out now. We have discussed and I've had people reach out to me regarding some of the reports. So I think what we're gonna do is, one of the headings, we're gonna do the end balance for the prior year, original budget, amended budget, current balance and the available balance. Are you guys okay with that?
What I would like to see is I'd like to actually see the amended budget for prior year and the ending balance for prior year. I'd like to know what we did budget and what was there. And then what did you say after the ending balance for prior year?
Available balance. So it was going to be the end balance for the prior year, original budget, the amended budget, the current balance, so the year-to-date balance, and the available balance.
Okay, I don't care as much if we don't have the original budget. If you needed to get rid of columns, I don't know how many columns you can have, but obviously ask everybody on the.
5.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, we can play with this report and kind of.
Right. I just would rather see, I kind of like to see what we ended up budgeting and did in the prior year.
Yeah, I do too.
And I don't think the original budget matters, it's the amended budget, because that's what we've amended to.
Okay.
And then like the year-to-date balance, obviously, and then available balance. I mean, if you can't have that, you can always figure it out, because you just take budget minus
Right.
Oh, sure.
year-to-date.
Because this looks
We could do
pretty
that. We could get
repetitive.
rid of the available and then just.
But
do
for
the
some
pri-
people, they might want available, I don't know. So that's, I said, I mean, it's up to all 7 of us, but I feel the prior year amended needs to be added somehow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you can have 5, you can add the available unless people are stuck on wanting the original budgeted for the current year. You guys all
I'm
okay
good.
with that?
I can do what I need to do with what's already there, so.
Okay.
All right, that brings us to our consent agenda. We have our
feedback.
regular meeting minutes of June 5th, 2023, regular bills in the amount of $32,364, prepays in the amount of $392,349.92, trustee timesheets in the amount of $1,921, and special meeting minutes of June 1, 2023. And we have no unfinished business. And that,
I'm going to vote on the consent agenda.
oh yeah, sure are. Missed that.
What did he say?
Need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Oh, I didn't hear him
I'll
say.
make
I'll make a
Ross did.
Ross
You want to
will
second it?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda. We'll need a roll call on that, please.
Thurman,
Yes.
Unruh,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Palma,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Rumble.
Yes. Motion carries. Now we have no unfinished business. That brings us right into our new business. And I have Planning Commission appointment. Mr. Dean has retired from the Planning Commission, so he's no longer wishing to serve on the board, so we need a new member. And Joe Harris, who is currently our ordinance enforcement officer, is obviously very aware of our issues that come up in the township as that, and I spoke with him, and Jason Wilton and I talked to him as well, and we agreed that he'd be a good member of our planning commission, so you have before you.
I'll make a motion
to approve. Thank you,
to appoint
Steve.
Joseph Harris as a member of the Planning Commission for this term of office beginning July 11th, 2023 to ending July 31 of 2026.
Thank you.
I'll second that
Thank you,
motion.
Kathy. And you had a question?
But I
Yeah.
have a question, yes. Will Joe still be doing our ordinance
Yes.
enforcement? Okay, good.
And we're gonna pay Joseph out of the planning commission line item with where Dean was paid from, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And there's no conflict of interest doing both, of being on the planning commission or doing the ordinance enforcement?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I just want to make sure that,
All right, any other questions? Can we get a roll call, please?
Unruh,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Palma,
yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Rumble.
Yes, motion carries. And then we have, as Charlie mentioned, it should say 2023 audit. I noticed that there. So to approve the that is the 2022 because it was
Yeah.
last year's. Sorry.
I'll make the motion to accept the 2022 audit report as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Steve. Any questions? All right, can we get a roll call, please?
Blair,
Yes.
Broughton,
Yes.
Palma,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Unruh,
Yes.
Rumble.
Yes. Motion carries. And Chief?
I'd like to make the motion.
Thank you, Scott. I'll go ahead and second that, but the motion.
I was
We got a motion on the table.
Hey, you already
I was
did it.
kidding, yeah.
Well, we made it now.
Yep, you made it.
All right, so the motion is to approve the change order to the KME fire engine of $55,594 to be paid upon receipt of the new fire engine line item 205-268-977-000 in the 2024 budget year.
I have questions. Just to put it in perspective, what was the total cost of the KME engine?
The L9 engine would have been 36,000. In addition, 36,000, it was,
Okay,
this is $55,000 more than what the L9 engine would have been.
right, but the whole vehicle?
The
Because,
whole fire truck
Yeah.
was,
because you still you call the whole fire truck an engine as well, right?
right, the fire truck,
So the-
yes.
We're only replacing the actual engine.
We're
Yeah,
just
I know.
replacing the
It gets
engine
confusing.
part.
Of the engine.
Part of the engine.
And that's due to the L9 Cummins short.
Can't get it.
Right, but just, we're increasing 55,000, I was just wondering, the whole truck vehicle
Yeah, I
is
don't have the number in front of me, Kathy.
roughly,
It was 1.3 for both those trucks.
like, yeah, 1.3 million, so 55,000 isn't like,
1.355.
and then, and do we have the funds to pay for the increase?
It'll come out of next year's budget, so we will budget appropriately.
Okay,
Yes, we do.
all right, thank you.
I thought we were getting away from the diesel.
No, not in the big trucks.
Not, okay.
Big truck.
Yeah.
All right, no.
Don't make a
Gotcha.
gas or that size, buddy.
All right, gotcha.
All right, we will go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Is that Scott and Steve?
Scott and me.
Scott and you? Okay. Broughton?
Yes.
DePalma?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes,
Unruh?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Rumble?
Yes.
They're making an electric
Carries?
version of fire engine?
Oh, yeah, we want that.
No.
No, we do not.
The price tag is astronomical.
All right.
Take out the grid to fire it up.
Yeah.
yeah, but they're putting in a electric
Yes, yeah, right into the
station in
village,
the
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
village.
'cause-
Yeah, that's not gonna
yeah.
charge a fire truck.
Yeah, leave it there all day long.
All right, chief, we got our next motion? Go ahead, chief.
Okay, so the next one is, we need to replace the captain's vehicle. It's a 2016, has 110,000 miles on it, it's over 7 years old, we're starting to have problems with it. After talking with Oakland County, their vehicle maintenance program that they do, they get rid of them at about 110. And they try to get rid of them between 5 and 7 years, so that at least you're gonna get some money back. Again, those vehicles we buy at a very significant discount. Compared if I just wanted to buy it up, as a personal vehicle for me or something, right? So with that being said, I contacted our state bid cooperative dealership, which is Berger Chevrolet out of Grand Rapids. They're the only dealership that can do it. They had a couple that they could tag for us. That are not spoken for already, that are in the build process as we speak. Will probably be done within 30 to 90 days. Their concern was, when I was talking to the sales rep, the Silverados, the 2500 HDs, half-ton pickups, they all took a significant jump this year, 12 grand. And he anticipates that the Tahoes are gonna take a significant jump next year. My intent was to try and buy one next year, but then after discussing it with them and looking at what the prices are and that we have the funds, talked with Supervisor Rumble, talked with our village manager, which is the fire authority, and they felt that now might be the time to make those purchases while we can save some money. Again, we don't know what that price increase is going to be, but it's going to be significant.
But if we lock it in now, we won't have that increase.
We'll have the vehicle within 30 to 90 days. We'll
Right,
have
so we
both
won't
of
have the,
vehicles.
so we
Yeah.
won't have the
Yeah,
increase.
so we won't have the increase.
Okay.
So we instilled upon a little FOMO on you, fear of missing out.
I'm sorry, what's that?
The salesman got you on a little fear of missing out.
No, actually, I called him to see when 24s would be coming into production and when they start tagging, start putting those orders in. And we got talking about it and said, hey, if you've got the money now, I buy it now. So I just don't know what they're going to increase. He said they held the price for 2 years at this price.
We had talked before, we've been saving for a new building department truck, and that's why we have those funds, but we've been talking about giving the old building department truck to the Parks and Rec department to use.
Yep, that's the plan.
Is that the plan? Okay, just wanted to know if that was still the plan. Good. I'd like to make a motion.
All right.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve a budget amendment to move $12,272.50 from line item 250000699,380 to line item 101380977,380, and to approve the purchase of two 2023 Chevrolet Tahoes from Berger Chevrolet, is it Berger? Berger Chevrolet, for a total cost not to exceed $81,090, with $20,272.50 from line item 101380977,380, and the balance of $60,817.50 from line item 205268977,000. And to approve emergency lighting not to exceed $36,000 for both vehicles from line item 205268977,000 from our vendor of choice. And to sell the 2016 Chevrolet Tahoe through a municipal surplus auction site for a final amount approved by the fire authority.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and second that. Any other questions on that?
What was moving to the fire, or to the Parks and Recs?
The current building truck?
Oh, the truck, and then we're gonna sell that. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's in better shape than the current
It
Parks
is.
and Rec truck.
And we might just put the current truck out at the park and leave it there for using out there, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
No, I was
we're
just
not gonna get
confused.
much for that.
I was just confused when we said we were doing, when the
scrap,
motion was for the
maybe.
Tahoe. I got confused when it said the motion was for the Tahoe go to the auction site.
That's
Then I
the
was-
current Tahoe.
That's the current Tahoe, and then there's a
Fire
truck, so
department.
we're getting rid of two and adding
No,
two.
we're getting rid of one and adding two.
Well, but we're moving one. We're getting rid of it from from the fire department and
Yeah.
moving it to a different department.
And basically, we're getting two Tahoes for the price of one.
Right, so two are moving and, right, gotcha. Sorry, thank you.
Yep. All right, we'll go ahead and roll call that, please.
DePalma?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Unruh?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Broughton?
Yes.
Rumble?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief. And then we have the clerk's motion here.
I'll make the motion, unless you wanted to talk,
We were just, I kind of said in my clerk's report that we were just looking to move our precinct 4, which is at Fire Station 2, across the street. The reason for this change is there's more parking, and it seems like a better fit, so.
I agree. I think, the fire department's got things to deal with that are important, and if you got a bunch of people standing there in line, I've been there before and seen the line just.
And if it's a
blocking
winter
the line.
election, we don't have to have the fire trucks outside running all day, wasting
Yeah,
gas.
yeah,
and
so I
diesel.
think it's a great idea, so I'll make that motion to approve the precinct location change for precinct 4 polling place from the Brandon Fire Department Station 2 at 3065 South Seshwell Road to Seymour Lake United Methodist Church, church name may change in the future, at 3050 South Seshwell Road, and to notify every registered voter in precinct 4 by mail and an advertisement in the Citizen newspaper.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Kathy and Dana. Any other questions on that?
Nope.
All right, can we get a roll call, please?
Marshall?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Unruh?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Broughton?
Yes.
DePalma?
Yes.
Rumble?
Yes, motion carries. And they're not on my agenda for whatever reason, but we do have another citizens' comments that we're supposed to do here, so.
I was just realizing
Yeah, I
that
just
that
noticed
and the
that.
board and the adjournment is not on there.
Yep, I got that too.
I'll make it quick. I just wanted to say thank you to Rosalind and the Election Commission, as well as the community church across the street. This has been something that has been asked previously, and I'm really glad to hear that the church is embracing that and is willing to do that, because we get asked a lot, why are the trucks sitting outside, why are they running? Put them in here, but you wouldn't have a place to vote unless you want to vote outside. So I appreciate it greatly.
Oh,
So,
You're
and-
welcome.
And then one last thing, the fireworks, just remember, just because the fire department's up there making sure everything's safe, it's the DDA and Friends of Amos and that whole group and that committee that puts those fireworks together. And I know they're still looking for donations, so this is going out to the public. Don't forget to donate. Thanks.
Thanks, Chief. Anybody else? Okay, seeing no more comments, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, Bob and Steve. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Sounds like a show, like a
It's like the
puppet show.
Bob and Steve show. Yeah.
Right?
It's a